Hey, Yang Gang and C-Realm podcast listeners, KMO here. So first off, good news from the Yang campaign. I got this in my email inbox this morning. They have qualified for their fourth poll, so that they got 2% support in an Iowa poll, which means that Andrew Yang is now qualified for the fall debates. He had been, one of his four qualifying polls had been disqualified by the Democratic National Committee a few weeks ago. The campaign manager at the time said, hey, it's a hurdle, we'll clear it, that's what we do, and they have. So, 2%, I mean, that's great that he gets to be in the debate, but that doesn't make him a leading candidate by any stretch, although if, like me, you are attracted to his ideas every minute that he's out there in front of the camera or on stage in front of an audience, talking about UBI, talking about automation, talking about Medicare for all, that's a win. So, I imagined that most of the criticism that Andrew Yang gets for his policy proposals would be coming from the right, from the mentality of, hey, you shouldn't get money for nothing. You shouldn't be able to live without working. And, he does get criticism like that. But there's a surprising amount of criticism coming from the left. Poll after poll tells you that young people these days are not as put off by the term socialism as their elders were. And I found a fair amount of criticism of people who don't like Andrew Yang because his aim really is to save capitalism. Capitalism is being eaten by its child, technology. And in fact, I heard Andrew Yang on a Fox Business interview quote his friend, Matt Weinstein, who said something to that effect, that capitalism was at risk of being eaten by its child, technology. And so I've read criticism. Here's a couple of articles that you can find very easily if you just type in Andrew Yang capitalism. First from Jacobin. An author at Jacobin was basically saying, look, Andrew Yang is a filthy capitalist. There's no reason any leftist should support him. And, maybe that's true. But by leftist, I mean, a leftist of the psychological type, a la Industrial Society and Its Future by Freedom Club. And the other one comes from a free weekly paper that I used to read when I lived in Seattle. It's called The Stranger. And basically this person's making the same argument. It's like, look, adjustments to capitalism, making capitalism a bit more friendly, a bit more humane, that's just not good enough. We need more. We need something better. And, by better, of course, they mean socialism. But there is no country in the world that is 100% capitalist unless it's a failed state, basically, unless it has a government that does absolutely nothing to define the marketplace through rules and regulations. And just about every, industrialized nation worth living in has socialist elements, in particular, socialized medicine. The United States is an outlier in not providing universal health care. And that's not rocket science, The U.S., ironically, can do rocket science, but we can't seem to do universal health care, or at least so far there has been no political will to get that done. So I was talking with somebody who has been providing really high-quality feedback on my podcast for years, and we were conversing via MeWe, and he wrote, I'd say Andrew Yang is more like FDR, trying to protect the capitalist order against itself. He has some great ideas, and so did FDR. We live in the shadow of the New Deal, amidst the remnants of New Deal infrastructure that we are still using. So this isn't a black and white issue at all. Yang could be very good and still be an agent of the capitalists, assuming they can accept some discipline to keep the game going a bit longer. I like a lot of his ideas. Well, as you know, I like a lot of his ideas quite a bit. But I've mentioned in previous videos that I am not super enthusiastic about universal basic income, which is Andrew Yang's, singular signature policy proposal. Lots of other candidates are proposing universal health care, which is also part of Andrew Yang's platform. But he's the only one who is recommending universal basic income right now. And universal basic income is not a new idea. Richard Nixon proposed it back in the early 1970s. And it was only rejected by a democratically controlled Congress because they wanted a more generous benefit. They should have taken what they could get while it was on offer. But my question, to which I don't have a solid answer right now, is should we amend capitalism, introduce enough socialist elements to basically keep it stable for a bit longer, or should we, aim for something new? There's a quote often misattributed to Victor Hugo. It's, "Nothing can stand in the way of an idea whose time has come," or, words to that effect. UBI is not a new idea, but maybe its time has come. If its time has come, then we'll have it. My suspicion is that UBI's time has not quite come, but it is definitely time to start circulating the idea and get more people thinking about it. I was just talking to somebody in the office that I'm using this week, and she told me that she doesn't vote. She had never heard of Andrew Yang, but when I mentioned universal basic income, she started talking about what she thought good policy would be, and she definitely favors universal basic income and universal health care. So there's somebody who is, ripe for being a Yang voter, if she were a voter at all. She categorically does not vote. She thinks the entire system is rotten, and voting just, validates it. So what's your answer? Is it time to move beyond capitalism? I've had people comment, make reference to the Star Trek future, a post-scarcity future, but Star Trek is communist. The Federation is communist. They don't have money. People just get what they need, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Remember that scene where Deanna Troi is talking to Mark Twain in the turbo lift, and she explains that they don't use money anymore, that the powerful don't dominate the weak, that people don't want for food or shelter or anything really. Everything is provided. That sounds great. Can we get there quickly from where we are now? Color me skeptical. Would I settle for a more humane version of capitalism, or as Andrew Yang says, human-centered capitalism? Yeah, I would. And what's more, I'm distrustful of, the left. Leftists in general, I find rather frightening. Right now the big hysteria is over a resurgence of fascism and Nazism and white supremacy, but, Mao and Stalin killed more people than Hitler. And look at Pol Pot, look at the Cambodian genocide. Leftism and leftist ideology produces just bloodthirsty mania, or it has in the past, and I don't trust it. So would I take capitalism, amended with universal basic income and universal access to healthcare? Absolutely. Because my suspicion is we're going to get increasingly dysfunctional capitalism without those stabilizing socialist elements. And that would truly suck. All right, well, I'm going to leave off here. Thanks very much for watching. I will bring you more about either Andrew Yang or his ideas tomorrow. I hope that you'll join me. And I hope you'll also check out my webcomic. It's called GEB, G-E-B-B, Golf Echo Bravo Bravo. It stands for the Greater Earth Betterment Bureau, although that concept has not actually been introduced in the comic itself yet. So do check it out, and if you want to hear more of what I have to say and hear what the people that I interview have to say, do check out the C-Realm podcast, which you can find at my website, crealm.com. All right, I'm out. Talk to you tomorrow.